Well, folks, I think it's about time that I took a break from the Graveleys for a while and did some other stuff for a bit just to mix things up. So, as you can see, I got another tractor here in the shop, and this is a Simplicity 7012 Hydrostatic Landlord that I just picked up about an hour ago or so from a town over, and it's in kind of tough shape. It was sitting out in the field for about 6 or 7 years. And I actually remember, I knew the people who had the tractor. I remember driving this when they first got it. It was a really nice machine, but this is what happens when things just sit around. So it's tough. The sun's been beating on it for that long, and it's been stripping the paint and everything. But somebody replaced the engine. It's supposed to have a 12-horse Kohler K301 in it, but somebody replaced it with a Kohler M16. So it's got a stubby shaft on the front, so I think it was a engine for a specific use, because you can see it has a factory bent oil fill tube for the dipstick, which I thought was kind of interesting. They do have the carburetor and the air cleaner for it, but no one was around when I picked it up, so I'm gonna have to get those at a later date. I have a carburetor I can throw on it though, so it doesn't look to be in too bad a shape. The spark plug wire has been chewed through. There was a whole mouse nest in here I just cleaned out. So to get to the spark plug wire though, I gotta pull this shroud off of the engine, so more than likely be pulling the engine out of it. But it is kind of a neat machine. It's hydrostatic. I think it's a Sunstrand, but I'm really not sure. I'll have to look at it. But it's shaft driven to a right angle gearbox, which belt drives over to the hydrostatic. And it's got the filter right down there, so I don't know if the rear end is still good. It should be, because it's been covered with the seat pan for all these years. I don't think it's gotten any water in it. So I'm just going to be looking it over, seeing if I can get it running, whether it's worth saving or not, or if I'll end up parting it out. But anyways, I'm probably going to get this engine ready to pull out, and then I can bring the Aaron's loader down here and we can lift it out. Alright, I was able to get the engine pulled out with the loader. Everything came out fairly well. Pretty easy to take out. It's just the 2 bolts for the drive shaft and the 4 bolts holding it in, and then what little wires were still hooked up to it. So I got it on the bench here. I got the shroud off of it. I rigged up my jumper cables to it, to the spark plug. And I'm going to roll it over with the battery charger, and you can see it still has a nice spark on it. So at least the coil and everything is still good. A little bit of wire chewed up here, but it's not overly bad. I'm just going to have to tape that back up. They didn't get to the resistor or whatever it is in there. I can't really tell. But the stator wires seem alright. Nothing's chewed out over there, along with these wires here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make up a spark plug wire, because on these coils you should be able to actually pull the wire out of the socket and put a new one in, but they glued it. So for now, I just loaded it up with dielectric gel, and I just got a regular old piece of wire. I'm going to gel the end of it, put a wire nut over it, and then just run it up through and slap it back together and see if we can get it to run. So as you can see, I got the engine and everything back on, and I rigged up a gas tank for it. So it fired up good and everything's spinning as it should be back here. The only problem I was having though is it's not driving because these two relief valves on the top of the hydrostatic transmission were pushed down into the roll position for so many years now that they're probably stuck down. So what I did is I took the little plate on it off, you know, the one that pushes down the two valves. That way I can access these, and I loosened them up, and I'm going to take them out. I'm going to see if I can get those pins to free up so that way we can get the fluid flowing inside again to get this to drive. So I got those loosened up now. I'm just going to blow out some of the crap from around them, and then we can pull those out. So what it actually looks like is that there's a hole in the bottom here where the pressure would push up, and then you'd have your ball bearing, there's a spring, and then a little plunger up on the top. So I'm going to have to try to push something down through the top here to get that ball bearing and spring to move, and see if I can get that plunger to push up into the top of this. Kind of see the ball bearing in there moving, whether it'll focus well. I got a punch, and all I did was push it through the bottom. I was able to get it to move, and now you got the plunger on the top, and that comes up. It's just like that, because all that little ball does is just close off the bottom set of holes, so that way the fluid doesn't bypass it. That's all. So I'll pull the other one out, get that one freed up, throw it back together, and we should hopefully be driving. So it turned out to be a good running and driving tractor. Luckily the hydrostatic transmission still works well and sounds good. It's not whining or anything. So I'm really not sure what I'm going to be doing with this tractor, because it's going to take a lot of work to get it back up and going again, and right now it's not like I really need another one at the moment, because I hardly use some of the ones that I already have. But it would need the fuel system gone through, the electrical system. I know it needs a tube in that tire because it probably goes flat over the course of 10 minutes. And some other stuff here and there. If I do sell it though, I'll probably end up taking this engine out because I like to keep the 16 horse Kohler. It's a nice running engine and everything. And I'd probably end up selling it either without an engine, or I'd slap another one on there that I have up on the hill. But for now, I'll probably end up parking it up out back and see what becomes of it in the springtime, because I don't know if I'll do much else with it this year. But anyways folks, there you have it. That's just the startup and repair of the Simplicity 7012.